So today's January 22nd, 2025. A day or two ago, Elon Musk did a physical gesture that certainly looked a lot like a Nazi salute, but there's disagreement of whether it was intentional or not, whether he meant for it to be a Nazi salute or not. And the two options or the two possibilities are that option one, it was an accident. He self-describes himself as autistic. This could have been an awkward gesture that he made in a moment of excitement. And option two, or possibility two, was that he intended to do a Nazi salute. So I'm gonna steelman the case for possibility one and unpack that. And Socrates would love to ask you to unpack for us option two, or if you want to restate it, feel free to do that. But the idea that Elon Musk intentionally did a Nazi salute.
Yeah, so for anybody who hasn't seen the video of him doing this at the inauguration, you should watch it. He puts his hand up to his chest. He puts it out. He turns around and does the same gesture to the flag. There's no.
So what was his goal? Like, what do you think his goal was? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, so you think that he intentionally did a Nazi salute?
Yeah,
100%. He's to say that he's a Nazi, to say that he supports the Nazis. Like, what do you think his goal was in doing that?
So this question of like, is he a Nazi or does he just support Nazis? It was clearly a show of support to Nazis. Whether or not he's a Nazi, it becomes very irrelevant.
Oh, what's his goal? Like, what do you think his goal is?
I think his goal is to pander as hard as possible to a base. Fascism is the merging of corporations and the state. And you think for the first time ever, three of the wealthiest people in the world, including Elon Musk, who's the wealthiest person in the world, who controls a media platform that he used specifically to try to get one particular candidate elected, and now he's risen to power.
Yeah, and by the way,
for fascism.
I'm not even like arguing or debating you at this point. I'm just trying to understand your perspective and argument, and I can absolutely be convinced. Like, I'm just trying to understand the perspective, or like what's behind the idea that he did this intentionally. So you're saying you're saying you believe he did it intentionally because he's pandering to a base. So my next question would be, are you saying that the base of Elon or Trump supporters are Nazis? Like, do you think that the base of Trump supporters, which is the majority of the country, support people who support Nazis? Like, do you think, another way to say it, the majority of this country who supported Donald Trump, do they support Nazis? Like, I'm just trying to follow what you mean when you say he's pandering to their base. That doesn't follow for me.
Right. So the Nazi Party was a particular party that existed in Germany in the 30s and 40s, and it started with Hitler and leaders being kind of laughed at, getting arrested, getting out of jail. Nobody thought that they would really rise to power. They weren't ever talking about killing Jews. This is a very particular thing that happened at a time and place. So when we're talking about fascism or Nazis or whatever, these are kind of like things that people refer to, but everybody within like the most hardcore, anti-Semitic racist core of MAGA are not all Nazis, because that was like 100 years ago, this ideology existed. There's some people who might think of themselves as Nazis, but the main thing is that the things that they have in common with what the Nazis had 100 years ago. So you have groups like the Proud Boys, who at Trump's beckoning went to the Capitol to perform an insurrection. And when he was asked to disown them, he said, "Stand down and stand by." So you have these kind of like militia, pseudo paramilitary groups that are rising to protect this leader. And it's not that they're literally exactly Nazis. That's way too specific. But the same kind of like groups and ideologies. And among those, so you're asking, are there like kind of like Nazi or neo-Nazi beliefs? Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's one of the firebrands for the MAGA movement, talked about Jewish space lasers setting fires in California, right? And you have Elon Musk specifically, who's helping to allow and promote a huge amount of specifically neo-Nazis, but in general, a lot of like alt-right people on his platform.
Here's my issue with that is that, so you're saying that the salute that he did was to pander to his and Trump's supporters.
So,
and that
by the way, wait.
Let me just make
this is the issue. So you can talk about like why exactly did he do a Nazi salute? And we are talking about that. We can't talk about that.
That's the whole point of this call. The whole point is why did he do it?
What is undeniable is that he did a like Hitler Nazi salute.
But the whole premise to me of the whole point of this conversation is that there's two viewpoints. One viewpoint is yours, that he did this, and we can unpack the reasons why, which I'd like to do. The other possibility that like at least half of people believe, if not more, is that he there was no meaning behind it. Like I said at the beginning of this call, like he did it. He's this guy. He's physically awkward sometimes. He's very excited, and he didn't mean to resemble a Nazi salute. And I think to you that excuse is BS, like total BS. Like you don't buy it.
I think the people who say that, so that like let's say it's 50%, whatever, just for sake of
whatever,
50% of people.
Yeah, but the whole point of this conversation is
they don't think that it was that. I think that maybe there's like 10% people who believe that, who mean it when they say that, and the whatever 80% of people who say that.
I believe that. No, I sincerely, like the whole point of this conversation, Socrates.
No, I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm saying that in general, when I see when I'm seeing people, I've seen this news story come up, and when I look in the comments or on Facebook or whatever, when people say that they don't think he did that, what they say is, here's a photo of Kamala Harris with her hand up. Here's a photo of Elizabeth Warren with her hand up.
Yeah. What they're saying is that he didn't mean anything. Like, he didn't mean anything by it. They're saying like he was waving his arms around, he was excited, and he didn't mean to do explicitly that. It wasn't intentional.
If you can show me one person who looks like they're doing that gesture, who didn't mean to do it,
I think people have shared photos of that. I think people have shared photos of that.
Exactly. People shared photos. And what happens when you look at the videos?
They're probably not.
Kamala saying things like, "We're not going back."
Wait, hold on. We're getting like off track.
Okay.
The point of this conversation is that he did what resembles a Nazi salute. That is a fact.
Yes.
The point of this conversation is to unpack two options. The first option that I will steel man, which is that he did this sort of haphazardly, unknowingly, just he's an awkward guy. I can try to explain that. But first, the more interesting perspective that I'd like you to explain is the second possibility, which is that he did this intentionally. And so my question to you is, why did he do it intentionally? Why did he intentionally do a Nazi salute? And your answer to me 10 minutes ago was that he did it because he's pandering to his base. So my follow-up question, I'm trying to understand, let's just go with this line of thinking. So he did the salute intentionally to pander to his base. And I said, who is that? And you described these different extremist groups within the base, which do exist. But the obvious hold on. I'm sorry, I'll be really quick. But the obvious counter argument is that 90 whatever % of Trump and Elon's base are not extremists. They're average Americans, because over 50% of the country of the voters voted for Trump, and most of them are not extremists. So according to your argument, if he did this to pander to the extremist groups, Elon Musk would be alienating the majority of Trump voters. That's what I don't understand about your explanation.
Okay, so I think this is where I need to go with this, which is to look at, if we're going to make allusions to the Nazis, then let's take that historical reference for what it was. So do you think that in Nazi Germany in the 30s and 40s, that the vast majority, 90%, 80% of Germans, that they hated Jews and they wanted to kill Jews? Do you think that most Germans throughout history, they all hate Jews and they all want to kill Jews?
Probably not.
No, it was right. There's some portion of the base that maybe some of them really hate Jews, and maybe some of them just want something to go along with, and they're willing to buy into that.
Do you agree that Elon Musk is alienating his Republican base if, in fact, he's intentionally doing a Nazi salute. Do you agree that he would be alienating the majority of the Trump base if he were to intentionally do a Nazi salute? Do you agree with that?
What's the difference between what he did and intentionally doing a Nazi salute?
Intentionally would be saying like, yeah, I did the Nazi, like I meant to do that. Like,
so you're not talking about intentionally doing the Nazi salute. You're saying telling people that he intentionally did a Nazi salute.
No, intentionally. No, intentionally doing.
What's the difference between what he did on that stage and intentionally doing a Nazi salute?
So the difference is, so what he did was he was very energetic and he was waving his arms. And at one point he said, I want to give my heart to you. And he put his hand on his heart and then he put his hand out to the crowd, potentially not realizing the gesture.
And then what did he
do? Intentionally would mean.
And then what did he do?
And then he did it again.
And then he turned around and he did it again to the flag.
Right. So again, my question is, what do you think but there's two possibilities. One is that this is like a crazy coincidence that he did this gesture and didn't mean it, which is what the ADL says, by the way. Like, I would like to hear how you grapple with that.
I don't think there's a lot to grapple with, right?
You think that they're secretly Nazis?
No, I don't think they're Nazis.
What do you think's going on there?
It's been well established that for the last 30 years or so, say, they've given up on their mission of actually going after anti-Semitism and just being a shield for Israel.
Okay. So
and there unfortunately are some of the staunchest supporters of Israel are massive anti-Semites. It's strange. It's a strange world.
So, but you're okay. Wait, sorry. Back to my original question that I really want to understand is that. And again, I'm open to being convinced. I haven't dug deep into this. I'm just sort of like Occam's razor would say, "Oh, he didn't mean to do that." Because
to
explain why he did this, you have to come up with this kind of crarazy narritive. Like it's
not crazy. It's very, very straightforward.
You're saying that he would alienate people. He did it intentionally.
If he did it intentionally, okay. If he did intentionally, he's alienating people. That's your premise, right?
Specifically,
what do people say? What do people right now, today, yesterday? Who are defending it? What do they say?
It depends. The extremists who are Nazis are probably saying, "Yeah, he's a Nazi," just like
you
me.
Think everybody defending it or saying?
No,
you think everybody defending it is a neo-Nazi?
No, some of them are probably. Some of this are saying that what the ADL said is that he just did a gesture. He's awkward.
Are a few of them saying that, or is it most people?
I think most people are saying, yeah, he's awkward. He was just excited. He didn't mean to do that.
Have you? I mean, you just said that you're familiar with you understand what I'm talking about when I say people post other photos of other politicians with a still frame with their arm up, right?
Yeah.
That you know what I'm talking about, right? And you've seen people say that and say, look, if you're going to call everybody who has their arm up a Nazi, then all these people are Nazis.
Right.
Okay. What happens when you look at the videos from those photos?
I haven't watched the videos. I assume it's not as explicit.
Well, you should. It's not that it's not as explicit.
Okay.
There's not a lot more that you could
all
do.
You're proving is that those examples of Obama aren't good examples.
Okay.
If
it's the case that people who are defending this use whataboutism, which is to say,
I don't know why we're talking about
bad,
that.
But
I don't
if you were to do something, if you look at other examples, it also looks bad. But then you actually look at those examples and it doesn't look bad. The totality is people are willing to say, oh, whatever happened, it didn't actually happen. So your premise that if he intentionally did this, okay, step into my world.
I've asked one question.
Let's say that he did intentionally do this.
You have not explained what his intention was. You're saying it's just to rally his base. I've said over and over, and I'd like you to respond to this. It does not build support in his base. If he did this intentionally meaning he meant to exude a Nazi salute, and he said yes. Whatever the word intention we're getting. The point I'm trying to make is that if it were known by his supporters that he did the Nazi salute, it would alienate his supporters from him, and therefore the motive makes no sense.
If Elon Musk said that was a Nazi salute, your contention is that would alienate supporters.
It would. The majority. Yes, because
he say
what?
Did he say that?
Did he say what?
Did Elon Musk say that was a Nazi salute?
No.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
I'm saying if he said he
did the gesture. Okay, let's say let's say, so for the sake of argument, let's say it was intentional. Who was it alienated?
Was or was not?
That it was intentional.
Okay.
I think it's intentional. Let's say, let's step in the hypothetical.
And yes,
that it was intentional.
yes, then it would have. Well, if it was, then he would admit it. First of all, why would he?
Why would he? You're making a logical leap that just.
Okay, so let's say he wouldn't. Yes, it would alienate it, but if it was intentional, but the thing is that we don't know what's in someone's heart and mind, like unless they say, why would he do it and then not admit to it? Like if his whole point.
Why would he admit to it? I don't understand what you're talking about.
Because if he's trying to send a message, why would he contradict what he's doing? Why would you do something and say, oh no, I didn't mean that? Like the whole point of doing a salute would be to like, again, it would be very contradictory. Like, why would you assume that he would not stand behind his action? Like if the whole world saw him do something and he meant something by it, he'd say, yeah, I did that. I meant something by it. Otherwise, why would he
you think that Nazis wouldn't recognize if somebody uses a slightly coded, or in this case, I don't think it was that coded, but let's step into something more coded. You don't think that Nazis pick up on dog whistles is like the terminology for it?
I'm just saying that the majority of Trump supporters are not Nazis. And so therefore,
I agree that the vast majority of Trump supporters are not Nazis.
So they would be.
That's not my contention.
So they would be alienated if Elon Musk
he did this gesture, right?
Yeah.
Are people alienated?
No, because they don't believe he was sincere.
Okay.
Because they didn't mean he intended. They didn't think he intended. And we were saying intended. That we're using these words
some people are willing to buy that it wasn't sincere. They're willing to tell other people, willing to tell themselves. Some people probably like it, right? So there's some people who are neo-Nazis.
I think like 1% of people are like think that it was a Nazi salute and are happy about it, and most Trump supporters do not think it was. They don't think it was intentional. In other words, they don't think he didn't physically intend to do that.
So when Marjorie Taylor Greene said,
yeah, she's crazy,
that Jewish space lasers set fires in LA, not the current time.
She's crazy.
Okay, what happened after she said that? What happened to her?
Some people thought she was. Some people thought no, she wasn't canceled. I don't know. Was she? I don't know.
What happened?
I don't remember. I don't know.
She was elected.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What happened when Donald Trump sat down for dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West or Ye?
I just think it's a little conspiratorial to say that, like,
wait. Okay. To be clear, I'm not saying the strong claim of anybody who does a Nazi thing ever automatically gets elected. What I'm saying is that
it's
the level of disqualification that you're implying might be the case from these kinds of actions. Show me some record of it.
Of what?
Somebody doing something that's kind of might be Nazi-ish, or is like, clearly anti-Semitic, or these kinds of dog whistles are pandering, and they get disqualified. What's one example?
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't know the specific, but that's like we're going down like some. I want to.
So you're saying it would be disqualifying if he did this? You can't think of one example of when somebody's been disqualified.
Not disqualifying, but yeah, most probably Marjorie.
If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris actually did something that resembled a Nazi salute, and they had any kind of so let's get to the real question. Okay, right? If I did something that looked like a Nazi salute, you'd probably be like, oh, that was something else, right? Because I don't espouse Nazi rhetoric. Right?
And same with Elon Musk.
Elon Musk constantly talks about how we need to fix the birth rate and deal with
by putting
criminals coming into this country,
raising the birth rate.
Talking about Donald Trump specifically, he's directly quoting Hitler, right?
Huh?
Donald Trump. So I don't know what percent of the MAGA base is like specifically Nazis, but Donald Trump is talking about immigrants poisoning the blood of this country. It's possible that seeped in subconsciously because he sleeps with a book of Hitler's speeches next to his bed.
You're just connecting, like you're weaving together this narrative that's very complex and could be true.
It's not complex. Okay.
It is complex.
Okay.
You think that Elon Musk is
simple. here's
has like
simple things.
Nazi ideology? You think he
Here's
has like you think Elon Musk has
here's
Nazi
simple things.
thoughts
So you're
and-
talking about could MAGA have, could MAGA or Trump? Okay, Trump is the leader of MAGA, right?
Mhm.
His ex-wife says that he sleeps next to, on his bedstand, a book of Hitler's speeches. What did
Does-
Trump say in response?
I don't know. What do you say?
He said, "My friend gave me that book, and but he's Jewish. Don't worry." What did his friend say?
I don't
His
know.
friend said, "Yeah, I gave him that book, but I'm not Jewish."
Okay.
You think somebody who's like learning how to do political speeches from Hitler and is constantly quoting Hitler and is starting to do some of the things
Wait,
that Hitler
Elon
started
Musk
to
or
do?
Trump? Like, who is
Trump.
Elon Musk?
Because you were talking about MAGA.
Am I talking about MAGA?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about.
I'm just
you,
saying.
You
Look,
said that this would alienate
I'm
MAGA.
just saying. Look, the first thing I opened with was Elon Musk did this crazy gesture. There's two ways we can interpret it. One was that it was an error, like he wasn't thinking and he was up there and he was excited and he's waving his arms and then he waved his arm in this direction and that's one explanation. It's like I can say it in one breath, right? Like
Yeah,
he got
maybe
up
he
there,
was having a stroke and his arm just
no,
happened to do
not
that
a stroke.
twice.
No, maybe he said my heart goes out to you.
He accidentally did a Nazi salute twice.
He said my heart goes out to you. He put his hand on his heart and then out to the crowd. He said my heart goes out to you. You can watch the video.
What does that have to do with?
He said my heart, and then he put his hand on his heart,
and then he did a Nazi salute.
And then he said goes out to you, and then he could have went like goes out to you,
but he didn't. He did a Nazi salute instead.
Right. So there's two explanations of why he did that. One is that he was saying my heart goes out to you, and then he just did this thing that essentially was a Nazi
salute. Only Nazis do.
Or people who are excited. I'm just
like
saying.
Who? What's one example?
I just gave one. I'm just
who? No, you didn't.
One example.
What's one example? What's one example of somebody doing that accidentally?
I don't know. I don't have one off the top of my.
So nobody does this accidentally. If he did it intentionally, it would be disqualifying. But it doesn't seem to be disqualifying. And when people say this kind of thing overtly, it doesn't seem to be disqualifying either for this base. And
but the base
and Trump keep saying Nazi things.
Like, I'm just. No, I think it's definitely
the most simple thing.
The Occam's razor would say he just was up there. He was excited.
If somebody keeps saying Nazi things,
Elon Musk
they keep behaving like a Nazi,
then yes, I would say it's a Nazi. Does Elon Musk say Nazi things? Does Elon Musk say Nazi things?
Yeah, he's constantly spewing anti-Semitic theories.
Elon Musk. What does he say?
Yeah,
what does Elon Musk say?
I'll pull one up.
Wait,
what's the first thing? Elon Musk. Anti-Semitic.
So what is? No, he did say. I remember this one on
that Jewish people, blah, 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 Jewish people, hatred against whites, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the real thing."
I remember one thing he said that did come off very anti-Semitic. That was concerning, and I did think it was really poor judgment to post it. But I guess do you see Elon Musk as like fundamentally against Jewish people?
I don't think that's his that's his primary thing. I think he's much more power hungry than he is deeply at his core, primarily driven by anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case. I think he more wants to be liked and he wants power. I think those are much more his kind of drive.
Okay, so then, but again, you're trying to describe him as an anti-Semite.
Okay.
As a Nazi.
If somebody is a death camp guard and they sometimes have to shoot some people in the concentration camp, to keep them from leaving, but they don't really hate Jews. All of their friends were joining up for the Nazi party. It would be really awkward not to. They might fear for their own lives. It was kind of like a thing that was happening. What do you say about that situation?
Say about who?
Are they really anti-Semitic? I don't know. I feel like who cares?
I'm asking, the whole point of this conversation is, what was his motivation? That's my question to you. I have my thoughts, and your explanation is that he's an anti-Semite, and so I'm saying
no, it wasn't. That's not a fair characterization.
I'm having a hard time understanding. You're saying that Trump is anti-Semitic.
He's motivated by by power.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right. I
Yep.
think, I mean, that's clear. There's no like,
Yes,
right.
I'm totally agreement with you there. Yeah.
Okay. So Trump is bringing him in with political power. What is the technical term for a system that merges corporate and government power? What's like the most common term for that?
Is it fascism? Is that
That's
the term?
fascism. That's, you know, that's generally like
So then,
term
because
for that.
it's a fascism, and then walk towards. So then, where does a Nazi like? Where does an intentional Nazi salute come in? Like, what's the goal there? Doing that.
There seemed to be a huge rise of right-wing extremist groups. They're not all specifically Nazis, but they all respond favorably to that kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So there's people who are Nazis, and there's people who get excited about that kind of thing. Who maybe that's not exactly like their main motivation. That's not their thing. They're into lots of conspiracy theories. It's, you know, it's not just like anti-Semitic ones, but you know, it's certainly not disqualifying, and a lot of people are pretty excited about it. What have I said that's like clearly not true, or is like
nothing is explicitly nothing is explicitly wrong. Like, your theory is a holds up logically. Like, you're
okay. What would you need to see? What would you need to see to start like?
I would need to believe
to get more certain about any of this. Or
yeah, like, I think that what drives Elon Musk fundamentally is like, like money, power, success. I think driving humanity forward. I think he wants to get to Mars. I think he wants to have successful companies. I think he wants to see the country succeed. I don't think he's driven at all by fascism, like zero. I think he's not driven by anti-Semitism.
Okay, what would it mean for him to be driven by fascism?
No, he doesn't win by doing a Nazi salute. Like, he doesn't get, like, if he could go back a day, 24 hours, 48 hours, and go up on that stage again, realizing that his frantic motions, like one of them was resembled identically a Nazi salute, I believe he wouldn't do it. And I believe that he's kicking himself right now. When you watch the video,
do you have any evidence of that, or is that just like
evidence? You don't have, neither of us have evidence. We're just talking based on like our common sense interpretation.
Has he ever said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I said something like that. I realized that it came off kind of anti-Semitic, and I really didn't mean it." Has he ever once said anything like that ever?
Yes.
Was it when has he said that?
About Twitter, when he tweeted something anti-Semitic, and then he walked it back and apologized.
Okay.
And then he like visited Israel and did a whole thing and apologized on stage. But I think right now I'm guessing he just doesn't want to fan the flames is my guess. But like to me, the gestalt of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, there's plenty of bad things to say about them. I do not personally think that they are anti-Semitic.
Look, so
I just don't think so.
So this is one of those things where okay, so here's an example. So with Trump, do you think Trump like really hates black people, or do you think he's just willing to use racism to kind of like get ahead?
Yeah, I guess, but does he use? I don't know. I don't think he.
So I think there's an argument kind of in both directions, and it is complicated to know exactly like what's the real driving force in someone. But when he took out a full page ad in the paper to say that was it 3 or 5, the Franklin Park 5, that he said that these innocent boys who were initially thought to have raped somebody in the Central Park 5 initially thought to have raped a woman in Central Park, that it turned out that they were innocent and the real rapist was caught. He put out a full page ad saying that they should be put to death, and he's never apologized. So the difference between somebody really being racist or really being anti-Semitic, or just willing to use racism or anti-Semitism in a way that dehumanizes and endangers a group of people in order to get ahead. I don't think we're even splitting hairs. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think
it really is the same thing.
the end of the day,
I've got to run.
at the end of the day,
give me your final thought.
yeah, at the end of the day, given like what's in Elon Musk's heart and his ambitions, he knows, and we know it doesn't serve him to intentionally do a Nazi salute. So the motive is just not there. And yeah, if it yes, it panders to some extremists, but like the idea that you're putting together of like, oh, it panders to these extremists, but also the rest of the party doesn't condemn it, and also something about like economics plus politics equals fascism, and fascism plus Nazis equals like, and then in Germany, and like you have to make all these connections, and like it's simply put, it doesn't help him. That's it. Like it doesn't help him with the public. So I don't think he would do something that doesn't help him.
All right. Thank you for the conversation.
All right.
Take care.